I remember breaking this news to you guys when I was in Japan in early October that Toyota is pushing back their 3-row EV that will be built in Kentucky. Now, there'll also be a Lexus version of that and potentially a Subaru version of that same vehicle. And we're supposed to get those now in the first half of 2026. It's not just that EV in Kentucky. Check out what is happening in Japan. This is at NHK. Toyota said they are delaying production of next generation EVs. The 3-row EV is kind of an evolution of their current platform. You could call it ETNGA. But this vehicle, the LFZC, which is the next flagship for Lexus, well, at least a flagship EV for the entire brand, it is being pushed back, guys. Is this a wise decision for Toyota and Lexus to push back not only their 3-row EV, but also their next-gen EV? We'll talk about that today. We also have other news. We're going to talk about the refresh for the Model Y. We'll talk about Northvolt, their bankruptcy, and teaming up with, well, what they were designed to originally combat against, which is Chinese battery makers. We'll also talk about how Edmunds got their hands on the new Equinox EV, and it has blown away their expectations for efficiency and range. All right, so if you guys are excited for today's news, smash the like button, subscribe for more auto industry news, and let's get into this hot topic right here. Breaking news. NHK has learned Toyota is going to push back the production date of its next-gen EVs. The LFZC and its next-gen batteries, supplied by Panasonic seemingly, it's going to be mid-2027 now. Originally, it was going to be sometime in 2026. We never got confirmation on what part of 2026 this EV is going to be, and now it's mid-2027. We know Toyota's using gigacasting. We know it's a fully software-defined vehicle. We know it's going to use next-gen batteries. We know it's going to have all sorts of new technology in here. And the LFZC concept is, well, supposedly the first vehicle to come out with this technology with crazy range, 600 miles of range, somewhere in there. Here's the thing. I'm all for pushing it back if it's not ready. All right. You don't want to release a half-baked EV. Look at the amount of pressure and shaming Toyota got for releasing the BZ4X. Okay, the name was already a disaster, still is a disaster. The charging is terrible on it. It is, well, it's expensive. All EVs are expensive, so that point doesn't matter. And the software's not good on it. It's gotten better now that they've updated the software just a little bit, but there's only so much that software can be updated. It's archaic, all right? And it doesn't have good range, doesn't charge fast, like I mentioned, and it's a fine EV for driving around town, but there are other options out there that are better, okay, for the money. Toyota doesn't want to come out with another half-baked product or underbaked product like the BZ4X. And now that they're putting a Lexus logo to debut this, it would be an absolute nightmare. Yeah, they just want to avoid any negative press about their EVs. And they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot, all right? Lexus still seemingly is supposed to be a fully electric brand by 2030 in North America, Europe, and China. They can't afford to destroy trust in their EVs if they come out with a non-perfect product, or should I say a non-competitive product. So I'm all for them delaying it. And also, maybe they're delaying it too to see where the market goes. Maybe they're saying, hey, maybe we should invest in extended range EVs, plug-in hybrids a little bit more instead of full-on battery electrics. It really just depends on the market. They have communicated all this exciting information about their upcoming EVs. Could they be delaying it as well because they want to maybe make a big splash with solid-state batteries? All right, if we look, first solid-state battery is supposed to be coming out in 2027. That sounds like it lines up with the delay to mid-2027 of this LFZC. But it was supposed to launch the LFZC with this sort of battery. But if solid-state batteries are just coming out a year later, why not just launch it with a solid-state battery? It comes down to cost. If Toyota can't bring down the cost of solid-state batteries, even if they can produce them in 2027, they're not going to put it in a vehicle unless it's a flagship, let's say a high performance vehicle where they can recoup the cost. That's a possibility. but time will tell what they end up doing with this thing, which batteries are going to get into what kind of range. It's still questionable, and now we have to wait till 2027. Might as well just put solid state batteries in it, in my opinion, or at least have the option of solid state batteries. But let's keep moving. Tesla Model Y. Well, it's going to get the same sort of headlight front end refresh as the Model 3 with this Juniper refresh. Also, we're going to have a light bar. The Cyber Taxi has a sort of light bar like this, black lettering. But if you see this little, I don't know, lobster claw, it looks like it could have the same rear taillights potentially of the Model 3 refresh, but I don't see the longer piece on top. So it might be a slightly different rear taillight design. We're for sure going to have this light bar on the back, it seems. Now, it could be different from US to China, but knowing Tesla, they just streamline everything regardless of which market it's sold in. We should be getting this soon. I hear there's crazy price drops and better rates going on in China. Now, that's a part of the Chinese market, but it seems to be more aggressive than normal. And maybe it's because they're bringing this Juniper online. Remember, the Model 3 went online first. Or should I say the Model 3 refresh went online first over in China. And then it slowly came out here maybe a half year later or so. The Chinese market is obviously more competitive than the US market. I mean, Tesla, even though their sales are dropping in the US just slightly, they still have a commanding lead in market share here. So they're not really highly motivated to keep the Model Y at like the cutting edge, right? Because it's still better than a lot of other EVs. Well, that's subjective. At least it's selling better than a lot of other EVs. So there's no hurry to refresh it in the United States. But I would say probably mid 2025, we will have this refreshed Model Y getting a lot of the Model 3 refresh updates. Now, by the time this refresh comes out in the United States, the EV tax credit could be completely abolished by the Trump presidency. Let's keep moving. Northvolt said to be in talks with CATL, other Chinese companies with partnership. Now, this is just ironic. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Northvolt supposed to be Europe's source of batteries that had a supply chain from the European market, and they would be independent from China and the Chinese stronghold of the supply chain, and to say, hey, we can do this too. We can be cost competitive. We don't need to rely on China. We can do this on our own. And it seems like they can't do it on their own. They filed for bankruptcy. Now they're in talks with CATL, and CATL would just essentially have rights over them. Isn't it ironic as well? Northvolt headquarters are in Stockholm, Sweden. Gothenburg, Sweden, outside of Stockholm, is where Volvo has headquarters. And Volvo, a Swedish brand, is owned by Geely. Correct? I say it wrong all the time. I believe it's Geely. And Geely's a Chinese company. Now you have this Swedish battery maker also getting bought out by a Chinese company. All right. Sweden's slowly getting bought out by the Chinese, seemingly. Maybe this is just another story. If you can't beat your rival, maybe you seek help from them. So Northvolt, it's just going to, if they do survive, they're just going to be a European arm of CATL, kind of like how Volvo is a European arm of Geely. All right. Let's end with some good news here. Chevy Equinox EV goes 356 miles on the Edmunds EV range test. It beat the EPA estimate by 37 miles. Now, this was on the front-wheel drive LT model, which costs $35,000, including destination. EPA rates it at 319 miles. From a miles per dollar perspective, the $35,000 Equinox EV is 98 cents per mile. Now, if you lease it, you'll get the EV tax credit. I think it might qualify for the EV tax credit even if you buy it, but EV leasing is the name of the game. Absolutely. You can get some crazy good deals here. I mean, like, depending where you're at, if your state also gives you some EV tax credits, then you can be getting EVs for around $200 a month. Which is just crazy for a lease, but it's very, very impressive. So it's hard to say, yes, the MSRP is low, but MSRP in the EV market right now is kind of worthless, as it all comes down to least what's my lease price. But it's good to see such an affordable EV come with great range. We know other EVs come with good range as well that don't cost an arm and a leg. I mean, the Ioniq 6 SE rear wheel drive has 343 miles range, really close to that Equinox front wheel drive. And at 356 miles, I mean, it's tied for the Rivian R1T performance dual motor with 22-inch wheels. I mean, that thing is just insane. It's in there with these electric pickup trucks in terms of really good range, and these trucks have enormous batteries. So very, very impressive for the Equinox EV. It's still not the Bolt EV, like the next gen Bolt EV that hopefully comes in at what, $3,000 less. Maybe if we can get a Bolt EV for around 25K next gen with 300 miles of range, that would be incredible. But in the meantime, the Equinox looks to be one of the better deals on the market. Again, all comes down to lease pricing, and I've seen people get crazy lease deals on the Ioniq 6, for example. So anyways, I'm going to shut it down there. Thank you guys for watching. Toyota doesn't seem to be in a rush to get their EVs to the market, but also don't rush something that isn't a ready product. So I'm going to there. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.